Hey everyone, welcome back. Third episode of the Slapdash Poopcast. Fourth?
Fourth, I think.
Who'd you do the third with?
Myself.
Really?
I think so. Actually, I'm not sure.
What the fuck?
I don't
Why
remember.
did you tell me, my cunt?
I forget.
I need to catch myself. I almost said something.
Oh.
Okay, but so, excuse me. I wanted to start off with some shit I did as a kid. How stupid as a kid I was. I was telling Jeremy, I just got reminded of this the other day. I did a talent show. There was a talent show at our school. And this is a Catholic school too, and like it's only like grades kindergarten through 6th grade. And I remember doing it with 3 other friends. We sang the Alvin and the Chipmunks songs. It was like at the time we were like, yeah, Alvin and the Chipmunks. Like for some reason we were so obsessed with Alvin and the Chipmunks. But like now I look back and I'm like, oh my god. And I actually think they stopped doing the talent show at that school because have like a lot of the things the kids would do just sucked, you know.
I think the school we all go to now, which I didn't go to the Catholic school. See, like with where we live, it's like you can have the choice to go to like this Catholic school for like I think 6 years, like until 6th grade, and then you can move on to like the main like school district in the area. And I didn't go to that one, but instead of
most people don't.
Yeah, most of the time because like the grades are like really small in the Catholic school, but like since we didn't go there, we did have a talent show at our school in elementary, and it was really bad because it was like in the LGI, which I don't know what that stands for, but like you'd sing, you'd dance, do whatever. I never joined it because I always thought it was really retarded. But there's a lot of people that were like in my grade and like in the grade below me and above me and like that would be in the talent show. And when you're watching it, it just makes you want to die. So
I didn't know they had one.
Yeah, they did. It was like it was really bad. Like they thought it was like this really like at the time when you're that young, it's like this is like a really high production.
This is cool stuff.
Yeah, it's like this is like a concert, and then you go there. It was you look back on it, it's just really bad.
I remember there was this one girl. Like the oldest kids would like be the ones announcing. Like they would go up to the mic and say like, "Next up, so and so with their act." And I remember there's this one girl. I don't want to name drop her, but like it was just like, now we have I'll just say Sally. Now we have Sally with singing. Like usually like most of them are accompanied by like a song title, like singing Taylor Swift. Like there were a lot of girls that sung Taylor Swift, which like you probably have to bleep this out. She used to sing Taylor Swift up on the stage. And there's this, I think she was in 2nd grade at the time. This girl, quote unquote Sally, she got up to the microphone, was just standing there looking at everyone, and she just broke out crying, and everyone started cheering. And what's funny is that afterwards, Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he did it. He also did an act. It was called Ball Tricks, and he would take this rubber ball, like a dodgeball, and just like put it between his legs and like run into it between his legs. And I didn't realize how retarded it was at the time. I actually thought it was like kind of like, whoa, Jack's like really doing something up there. And I don't remember if he had music over it or not, but he wanted to put Taio Cruz's Dynamite over it. I don't know if he actually ever did that. I can't remember.
Space Jam would be a good one.
No, I remember he did that though. And it was like the day after, and he was like, dude, my act sucked. I hated it. Like, it was so bad. And then he goes, that girl that went up there and cried act was better than me. Oh my god, it's so funny to me. Oh my.
I think like the worst like most embarrassing moment I've had like in front of a bunch of people my dad, he's an auctioneer, and he does his own sales sometimes. Well, he used to. I was really little when he did it, and we were selling these. They were like bird cages with like fake birds in them, but like old people would make like buy them, and they like sing or do whatever. They were like plastic and stuff, and I'd actually like I'd be like the runner, and I'd hold it up, and of course I'm like 5, 6 years old, and I'm just carrying it around so people can see it, and I ended up dropping it actually because like a screw went loose, and I dropped it and it hit the ground, just shattered, and like I don't know why, but like I thought that was the most embarrassing time I've ever had because I was in front of a big crowd and you do something as dumb as that, and like I don't know why. Like I look back on it now, I was like, why would I be embarrassed by that?
Yeah, because you're just as a kid.
Yeah, but like I was little, and at the time I was like really, really, really embarrassed. And like the moment it hit the ground, I turned around and like it was at like a fire hall, so like there was like one of those like bingo stages up there and stuff like that. And there just happened to be like a really large like dog pillow I think my dad was gonna sell. And I took a leaping dive onto the dog pillow and started crying right into the dog pillow. And, like, everyone goes, "Aww." And my dad comes over because, like, he stops, like, everything just so he could come over and say, like, what's going on. And me, like, the dumbest question, like, out of all the questions I could have asked, I turn over to him and I'm like, "Dad, why did everybody go, aww?" And he's like, "I don't know." And he just, like, kept going. And he just, like, kept selling and stuff like that. I just sat back there for like the rest of the sale, just like thinking about my life and thinking, wow, I ruined myself right there. It was so dumb that I look back on it.
Was the bird cage made out of glass, you said, or?
It was plastic. So like, it was like really like, it wasn't cheap plastic, but like the joints that was held together like were like really small screws and stuff. So like when it hit, it just shattered across the ground. And like the bird fell out and it started going like making weird noises because it's malfunctioning. And I mean I thought that was so embarrassing. I looked like the biggest idiot that day. Oh man, it was so funny that I look back on it now.
Going back to even my younger days, when I was in preschool, I didn't learn how to stop peeing myself until I got into kindergarten. No joke there. I would always pee myself in preschool. And like another thing that I weirdly remember doing was going in the cafeteria, or like our cafeteria is separate from our school at the Catholic school, and there's these 2 bathrooms in the back like hallway, and I would always go in the girls' bathroom for some reason. But I think it's because I don't remember. I feel like I don't remember the boys' one existing. Like, it was very weirdly hidden in, like, the corner. Or at least that's what I thought at the time. So I would, like, go in the girls' bathroom. Then I'd always, like, come out with piss stains already in my pants. And then, like, there would be, like, a 6th grader who I thought was, like, the big kids. They would come up and be, like, to my teacher, like, "Caden peed himself again." And they would just be like, "Caden," and I'd be like, "What?" Like, I didn't know the concept of like potty training at the time.
Yeah. Like that actually reminds me of like when I was in elementary school. I think I was in 2nd grade actually. I was in 2nd grade, and I'd always go by like we'd always have like bathroom breaks in between classes, and like they weren't classes, but like every like I think like 3 times a day.
Subject.
Yeah, and in between each subject we have a bathroom break. And we, like, every single time we went to the bathroom, we'd go in, come back out, and then we'd line up against the wall until we were ready to go back, into the classroom. And every single time I went by the girls' room, I used to look like a creep, but I'd look in there. Like, I wouldn't be, like, duck my head in and see, like, oh, what's going on in there? But, like, you just go by and you just see, like, the first, like, there's like a little hallway in like the bathroom, and I see this box like up against the wall, and I was always like, what is that box that's up against that wall? And I just happened to ask like one of my classmates at the time, I'm like, what's that box in the girls' room up against the wall? I'm like, oh, that's a tampon box. And I'm like, what? A tampon box? And like, of course they're not on their periods at this point, so like they have, like why would they be using it anyway? And I had no idea what a tampon was. I'm like, what the heck is that? And they're like, they like explained it.
Wait, did they actually say like you stick it?
Yeah.
How did they explain it?
They were like, you put it up your pee-pee, like or something. It was something. It was something like that. Like, you put it up. Like, I don't know how they worded it, but I'm like, and I was thinking to myself, like, I still don't understand. I'm like, why? And like, well, you bleed down there. I'm like, I was thinking to myself, what are you talking about? Like, I'm thinking, I'm putting myself in my shoes. I'm thinking, what are you talking about? Like, you don't bleed down there. You're dumb. And like, of course, they wouldn't even know that anyway either. I don't know how they knew at the time, but like yeah, you put it down there to like fix yourself, and like they made fun of me because I didn't know what a tampon was at all. Yeah, and like it made no sense.
I didn't find out what a tampon was till like 6th or 7th grade.
You learn so much in school because other people tell you.
Yeah, literally. This is where I learned like everything.
Yeah,
like I literally didn't know jack. Well, I probably knew a couple things, but like as soon as I got to like Tyrone, I was just like, I know it all now. Like within like a few months. I just you reminding me of like elementary school stuff. I hope I remembered this right because it wasn't funny to me at the time because I thought it was a legit thing, but then now I look back and I'm like, oh my god. I remember somebody did something bad in my class. And okay, so we were actually in the elementary school in my kindergarten grade because we were getting like renovation on where our school usually is. So like kindergarten, we were on the bottom floors, or at least kindergarten was. We were on the bottom floors, hallways, and we would always do bathroom breaks. And there was this one kid who I guess like did something bad, and the teacher punished him by sending him to the girls' bathroom. And I was like we were like I'm pretty sure most of us thought it was like a legit punishment, but now you think of that with like the dirty mind you have today, and you're like, what the fuck? Why?
There was actually no, that the time I dropped that birdcage actually wasn't my most embarrassing. Most embarrassing was like, in elementary school we always had like pajama day or like Dr. Seuss day or something where you like one week of the year where you'd go to school and like you dress up something or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think the one day was like school spirit day, and I thought it was pajama day. and I'm on my bus, and I'm like there's another girl in my class, and I'm like, did you wear your pajamas today? And she goes, what? And I'm like, your pajamas, it's pajama day. I was so happy. I was like, I love pajama day. You just go there and you're comfy and everything. And it's like, yeah, pajama day, you wore them, right? And I'm like, today isn't pajama day. I'm like, I look at her, I'm like, what? And she's like, today's not pajama day, it's school spirit. I'm like, are you serious? And she goes, why? Did you wear your pajamas? And I had like a winter jacket on because it was like winter time, which I don't know why they do it in the winter. It's like you're gonna be cold. Yeah. But I opened up my jacket, and it was my Scooby-Doo like pajamas, and I was also in 2nd grade. Or no, that was in 4th grade actually. It was my Scooby-Doo like pajamas, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And I was so embarrassed when I had to go into school with my pajamas on, everybody looking at me, everyone making fun of me, and
oh no.
And I go like into the class, and like everyone's just making fun of me, like, oh, you wore your pajamas, you're an idiot, like, oh, just making like all the like stupid like 4th grader insults, like, oh, you're dumb, ha ha ha, you're wearing your pajamas. And I had to wait like I think 3 subjects until my mom came in with jeans to like and like actual clothing for me to wear. Oh, so embarrassing.
Wow. Like that's like I hated how it reminded me of the one iCarly scene where it's like, oh, Freddy is gullible and he wore like a clown suit to school. Yeah. Like imagine doing that like now.
Oh, my life would be ruined. I would never hear the end of it.
I would probably just own it. If I was wearing something that actually looked cool, I'd probably just own it. Be like, oh yeah, you guys are the losers.
Yeah, I would go into a clown suit to school any day instead of my pajamas. I hate whenever you go to like the store and there's people in there with their pajamas on. It's like, it's like, why don't you like get a life and wear something like that makes you look presentable? Like you're such a bum.
There's like a huge woman that when I used to ride the bus, she'd be on Washington, because that's like kind of like the scruff section. But like there would always be just a huge woman. The only thing she ever wore was like a Call of Duty Black Ops 3 shirt. She's like a big woman, and she wore it every morning, I swear to God. I feel like she wore something else too, but I can't remember. Something else like that was just like, like not, you wouldn't think she would wear it.
Yeah. I don't know why, but like in 4th grade, I guess it's just because we're talking about 4th grade.
Mm-hmm.
I broke Cody's toe. And
How?
I was at his house. And what we always did, we always played like rugby in like his house. We'd have like those plastic footballs they throw at you at football games. And we played like down his hallway into his living room. And we played like, we threw it and then he'd catch it, or whoever got the touchdown or whatever. It's like rugby football. I don't even know. But whoever got the touchdown, like they get the kickoff and you just throw it down the hallway and then he'd catch it. And then literally you just try everything you can to just beat the crap out of each other to stop them from getting onto the couch. And I got the kickoff one time and I immediately ran past Cody like really, really fast. And then when we got into the living room, my foot went back and his foot went forward and it hit my it hit my heel. I guess it must have hit it like just perfectly where it just broke his toe.
Ugh.
And he runs into his room. He like lays down on his bed. He throws his foot into the air. So he's like laying down on his back, but his foot's in the air, and his hands aren't touching his foot, but they're like hovering around it. So he's just like doing some weird like Harry Potter magic spell to his foot, and he's like oh. And I'm like what? Oh, you're fine. And he's like, no, oh my gosh, my toe's broken. I'm like, your toe isn't broken. Like, suck it up. You just stubbed your toe. You're fine. And then turns out he goes to school, like, I think Monday, because we did it over the weekend. He goes to school Monday. He has a wrap around his foot. And he's like, you broke my toe. And I'm like, whoops. Like, I didn't know what to say to him, but that was a funny time, because now like he'll remember that for the rest of his life. Like he broke his toe because of me.
I remember, so like, you know, we would like, because we were with the Catholic school, we would pray. This is just something small. This isn't like a huge story. Oh, I do have one more thing. Okay, but like we would pray, and I remember like in like the Catholic school, an extra subject we would have is religion.
Oh yeah.
So like we had that in there, and I remember she taught us like a fun fact. Like it was like people pray like this, like with your hands against each other. People fold their hands, and then there's like a third way where you just stick your arms out like this. So everybody in our class started praying like that. we would just be like, "Bless us, oh Lord," like just for our food before we would go eat. I do remember another thing though. There would be show and tell sometimes too, or like I guess it was show and tell. Colby, I remember he went up one time. I think it was around Christmas time. But he goes up there to like sing a song, I think. Or, like, I don't even remember. It's so like vague at this point that I'm just trying to I only remember little snippets, but he was like singing like some version of Jingle Bells, or is like a silly version. He was like, But he couldn't sing it because he just kept laughing. He just kept giggling. So he was like Jingle Bells. Like 20 seconds of laughing, then he just goes, Santa's stinky. And then the teacher wasn't even laughing. She just goes, Santa isn't stinky. It's the stuff that like little kids do. I almost want to become a kindergarten teacher. Just
yeah, like I've looked back at like some stuff. Oh, actually, 2nd grade was probably the biggest year where I've done like the dumbest stuff. And like, there was a kid named Sean, and we'd sit in the back of the class. And when Valentine's came around, the teacher hung up like Cupid. Oh god!
Oh no! At the Valentine's, I already know where this is going.
They hung up like Cupid. They like hung from the ceiling or whatever. It was like little like posters of like Cupid or whatever. And of course, everybody knows that Cupid doesn't wear too much clothing, so Cupid's butt was exposed.
That's like the perfect like elementary school.
Cupid's butt was exposed, and me and Sean were sitting. Me and Sean sat like the back row, but like on opposite sides of the room. And we'd look up, we'd point at it and be like, butt. And we'd laugh so hard, like, we'd be crying, laughing, and she'd be like, do I need to move you guys? I'm like, we're already moved pretty far apart. You need to move Cupid because his butt's showing.
When you said that?
Yeah. And she's like, you're being very inappropriate. Don't make me kick you out. I'm like, but Cupid's butt's showing. You can't just have that. And she's like, oh, yeah, well, you're being very immature. I'm like, well, it's not my fault. He's laughing too. And like, well, you both need to start being mature. You guys are big boys. I'm like, no, it's Cupid's butt showing. And we just keep pointing at it. And we'd laugh so hard because of that. And I look back on it, it's like, it's so dumb. It reminds me of like the Minions where they're like, hey, butt.
Yeah, that's literally what I thought of when you said that. I was like thinking like Minions.
Because they're like, haha, butt. And then they just laugh. That's literally what we were.
I remember, I was literally like in first grade. And I, like, passed the kindergarten classroom, and I just, like, kindergarten kids are loud. And then, like, when they're loud, the teacher's loud. So I just hear a couple kids say, hey, they were touching my butt. Yeah, he touched my butt, too. And then I just hear the teacher go, nobody should be touching anybody's butts.
Oh, those, like, I like the moments in school where, like, someone freaks out and has a temper tantrum, and then they, like, storm out of the room. Like,
yeah.
This was one in second grade. Second grade, okay, we're in there, and there was this kid named Isaiah Miller.
Yeah.
And, I think the power went out because there was, like, a storm or something. And, like, the power used to go out, like, a lot back in elementary school for some reason. I don't know why.
I actually think I remember it happening once when we were in kindergarten.
Yeah, and, well, the power went out, and he comes in, he's like, after the power was all kicked on, we go back in, and, we go to the classroom, and, this kid had problems. Well, this kid has problems. And he would get, like, really angry. When he got angry, he'd get violent, and I always tried to be like that kid that's like, you know what, I'm going to try to care for this kid and try to be friends with him because nobody else will be, and, like, I'm going to step up and be a good person. And, like, I was known as, like, the class clown at that point, and, like, everybody thought I was the most funniest person. And I look back on it now, it's like, I don't know why. But, like, I was, everybody, like, vouched for me no matter what would happen. Even if I was in the wrong, people would vouch for me for some reason. But, this time I wasn't in the wrong. But, I was trying to be real good friends with this kid, and he thought it'd be funny, like, after they come in, with the power being out, he's gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna turn off the lights again, and they're gonna think the power's out. And he's laughing. I'm like, no, that you shouldn't do that. That's wrong. And, like, I'm being like this most, like, mature person ever. And, like, it was the same year I'm making fun of Cupid's butt. So it's like, literally, I'm bipolar at this point. So, I'm like, no, you shouldn't do that. So he turns off the lights. I turn it back on. He turns them off. I turn them back on. He starts getting angry. I could see it in his face. He's getting angry. And, I'm like, you know what, you have to keep him on. That's just the appropriate thing to do, or, like, whatever I'd say. I don't even know. So, he got really mad, and he punched me in the forearm. And, I'm really skinny now. I was skinny back then. And when he hit me,
yeah,
it hurt. It hurt so bad. So I would be like, ouch, that hurt. Why would you do that? And, like, trying to defend myself. I wasn't going to punch him because I didn't want to get, in trouble or whatever. And, he's like, he turned him off again. I turned it back on. That time he took me by the shirt, and he just threw me, like, across the room. Not even kidding.
Seriously.
Well, he didn't, like, throw me, but he pushed me down. When I hit the floor's, like, polished, so, like, I slid some, and I looked up. I'm like, I get up. I was like, Mr. Stark, I don't feel too good. Like, it was like that kind of moment.
Yeah.
And she just came in, like, the teacher just came in, and she's like, what's going on? And, like, everybody in class, like, he hit Jeremy. And I was like, what happened? Isaiah hit Jeremy. And he's like, is this true, Isaiah? I was like, and he always mumble. When he talks, like, yeah, you're talking about low lights. And I'm watching them argue back and forth. And he's like, and he just runs out of the room and slams the door. And, like, then she tries to shut the door, the teacher,
Mhm.
and then he tries to open it back up. So now they're fighting over the door. I don't know why he was trying to get back in. Like, he just runs out, slams it, then comes back in, and she's fighting with him so he doesn't get back in. I don't know why.
That is really weird.
And like then he finally lets go of it, and whenever she's obviously pulling, it slams shut, and everyone just like you can hear it echoes down the hall. When like our doors are like really big, heavy wood, so like whenever you hear it like
Oh yeah.
slam, it's like boom, and it just echoes through the whole entire school, and you just hear this big like crack noise because of the door shutting. And you just hear him. You can hear his foot's like fading away down the hallway because he's running, and you just hear him go, boop, 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 and he's like mumbling to himself as he runs. He's like, so like, it makes no sense. It was so funny. Like I look it back on it, but at the time I thought I was seriously going to be assaulted.
I remember they used to show like movies and stuff in the cafeteria.
Oh yeah,
They showed SpongeBob episodes. And I remember the one they skipped because it was the bad word one. They
Yeah.
literally skipped the episode. I don't remember. That's weird now that I think about it, how they showed those.
the biggest like temper tantrum I haven't witnessed it myself, but there's a kid in my grade named Chris, and it's not Chris
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we know, but him and his brother, they're brothers, and they're both Mexican. That's kind of out of context. It doesn't matter what they are, but I'm
They're
just
both dirty Mexicans.
I'm just trying to.
No,
I'm
we're just kidding. No.
but like they would really freak out in class, and they were in fourth grade. There was like one male teacher's name was Mr. Fink, and they would freak out in that class, and they would like when they got mad. I remember like it was the one time where Chris, he like freaked out. Maybe it was Dante. I don't remember, but like it was one of them, and they flipped and they took a desk and threw it at Mr. Fink. And like you can like I remember that day because I never saw it, but I definitely heard it. Like I definitely heard screaming, and you just hear this big boom boom boom, and like and then you hear like more screaming afterwards where it's like and everybody's like, of course, like the teacher at the time, they don't want their kids to get all rowdy, so they're like, "It's okay, kids, just calm down." And like, because people are starting to like question like what's going on down the hallway, and you just hear this like, ah, boom, 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 ah, and you just hear the screaming, and then like you hear a door slam, and it's like, holy crap! It was so funny. Like you just think about it at the time, it's like really funny. And I think actually last year, there's a girl in your grade, Jasmine,
Oh.
and she like I think she was in a math class like near the hallway where I was at, and I hear like really really loud arguing where it's like blah 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 like whatever, like however they talk,
Yeah.
and like they're screaming back and forth, and you can hear the teacher screaming at her, and then she screams it back at the teacher, and they're just screaming back and forth, and you hear like it's like whatever, and then she walks out, and the door slams. Like that's my favorite part. Like whenever there's like you hear arguments like down the hall, like you're not actually part of it, like it's not happening in your classroom, but you hear it down the hallway where you know what's happening, but it's like you're not part of it, but you just laugh because of you don't see anything, but you hear it. You just hear like boom, and that's just it all just ends. It's like really funny. I just always thought those were funny.
See, I didn't like. You said that was like. Well, no, you said that one was last year, but
That
most
was
of the ones
last
you've been telling are like from elementary school. But like, I never grew up with that because like it's a Catholic school.
Yeah,
there's a lot of discipline.
everybody's
There's a lot of
civil,
discipline.
yeah. Like
There was a freak out in 7th grade though. David.
Oh.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so we had a really bad class. It was 7th period history, and it was by this teacher who had like got hired at like the last minute. She was like still a college student, or like she was 22.
Mrs. Hubbard.
No, it's Winters. She was there only that year, I think, but she was only a 22-year-old teacher. She had like no teaching experience, and she didn't know how to like make kids behave other than yell. And we were like the worst class. Like literally no one would shut up like the entire time. And there would be days. So do you know where Winters and then Orlowski's still in that room at like the end of the hall?
Yeah.
The Winters was in the history room. So like you know how far that is?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently kids from the English room could hear it when Miss Winters would yell. Like she would be screaming like 7th period. I honestly might be talking for like the next 20 minutes. There is probably not that long, but there's so much. I want to tell them all too because they're all so funny. That class, like so many stories from that class, and the ones I'm gonna tell are like when subs were there because that was the worst because like. So, like, we got better by, like, near the end of the year. But, like, I remember the first 2, like, marking periods or so, we were so bad. Like, okay, so I'm going to start off first with this one sub. Apparently, she was, like, I thought she worked in the school. She must have left real soon after. But, like, she was, like, I guess a military lady or, like, quote-unquote. But she would, like, there would be no talking when she was there. And the thing about that is that there were still kids that always talked in that class.
Yeah.
So whenever they did, she would like scream. She'd be like, "No talking!" This one kid, Brian, he literally wasn't even like. This was like a couple minutes into the period. It was just completely silent, and it was weird. Like it was so quiet. It was weird because there's always people talking in that class. He went up to get a tissue. Nobody talking. He's literally just getting a tissue. And then she sees him go up, and she's like, "Sit down!" And then he's like, "I'm just gonna tissue." And then he like walks. She like walks toward him, and then she just yells, "Sit down!" It's just like really angry that he's getting a tissue, and Brian like gallops back to his seat like, with like the tissue over his nose, and he's like picking up his legs a lot, like. Oh, that was so funny. There was this one lady who literally didn't do shit at all. I actually don't even know what her name was, but she's still at the school. Like, she wouldn't say anything. She would be like, "All right, you're doing this and this on my computer."
Miss Hoover?
No, it's not. I don't know her name. She so we were. It was like a loud day, but this teacher really didn't care. She was just kind of smiling and like just watching over us. And this kid named Gage, he gets 2 staplers, opens them both up, holds like the metal part of both of them, and then just goes cha and like squeezes them like back and forth really quickly. Just like cha, and there's like
gold pistols.
Yeah, and there's like staples shooting out of them, just going all over the floor. And she just looks at him and smiles like the sub didn't care. But like I just have the image doing that. And then, I think this is the last story I have in that class specifically, but like, this one lady, she was kind of she was like a really calm lady. She has like a really quiet voice. And she was also just kind of one of those subs that like never yelled, but like she would write people up if they did something. And this one day, this kid's sitting in the middle of the room, David. He sat in the very middle, and then there's always these 2 retards, not like literal retards, but like just really stupid kids that sat in that like at like the back table for some reason, and I guess they were throwing stuff at him or something. And David just loses it. He just looks back at him while she's talking, or I don't even know if she was talking, but he just in the middle of the class he just yells, "Stop throwing shit!" And the whole class starts laughing. Like we just bust out laughing, and the teacher's just up there smiling, like not doing anything yet. And then somebody said like, "Gee, David," or something like that, and then he's like, it'd be better if y'all would shut the fuck up. And then just everyone just busts out laughing. And then finally the teacher's going over to the phone, and she's like calling the dean and like the principal and stuff, and she's like getting him down here, and like so like that's a distraction. So we're all just kind of laughing, and we're all still just antagonizing David. And he's like he keeps saying shut the fuck up, and then he just lost it. Like I guess he just gets up out of his seat and goes, you know, I don't fucking care. I fucking hate you guys. You need to shut the fuck up. I'm fucking leaving. He said like fucking like 8 times and then left the room. And everyone was like crying at that point. It was so funny. Oh my God.
There was 2 stories that I have that like they're really good. So I think when 7th grade, science class, and that was when, you know, he was still there, the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And Keegan was in that class, and Keegan would like literally be the worst student in the whole class. He would try to like fight and like argue, and he would annoy Mr. Loth for like literally no reason. And when Mr. Loth gets mad, it's so funny. Oh man, he would be like, Keegan would literally run around the whole entire time during the whole classroom and just run around, jumping over desks, like jumping on top of desks, going behind Mr. Loth and like air thrusting, like literally anything he could to like make fun of Mr. Loth he would do. And Mr. Loth finally snapped the one day, and he's like, every single day I come in here and I get so tired of you. All you do is you just run around and you just talk and you just interrupt my class all the time. I'm getting really tired of it. And his face is getting like really red, and like he looks like that caterpillar off of Mario. Like
when he's like, all steams and gets red.
Yeah, when he turns red, because his nose is like literally the same. And so he's like, I'm getting so tired of it. You make me want to retire. Like all this.
Oh my God.
All this stuff. Like
you make me want to retire.
And funny thing is, he retires a year later. And Keegan like just keeps going. He just keeps making fun of him. He just keeps like annoying him. And this is kind of off topic and like not really part of the next story, but like one time Mr. Loth went by me and I heard him fart. And it was like he literally went right in front of me and he goes and just farts, and he turns to me and he goes, whoa, and then he just keeps walking. He doesn't even say excuse me or like anything. He just goes, whoa, and he just keeps walking. But like the next story, we were in chorus, and you know how like they force us to do chorus like at like 6th grade.
6th grade, yeah.
And we're in chorus, and there's this kid named Dwayne, and he was a real scruffball. And he would constantly talk back to Mrs. Harris, which you guys don't know. Mrs. Harris like did not take any crap whatsoever. She literally would kill you if you said anything to her, like back talked her or whatever. She was very, very strict. And well, she still is because she's still there.
Yeah.
But Dwayne like would not care, and he would just keep doing this. I mean, he came into school a dirtball, literally like disgusting clothes on, wearing like crappy like basketball shoes or like those skater shoes, and he just wouldn't care. So like so many times, like we have a security officer, and so many times he would have to be called down to come out and like take him away. Well, the one time, Dwayne didn't want to be taken away, so what he thought would be cool was he just darts off stage the moment she calls for the officer, and he darts off stage, runs straight into the auditorium where they're like literally there's like 1,000 seats in the auditorium. I'm not even kidding, like 2,000, maybe 2,000. Like I think there's like 1,000, but he darts into like the auditorium seats and like tries to hide underneath the seats and like crawls around the seats and stuff. And he finally, like, the officer, he comes in and he's like, all right, where is he? Like just, like, really doesn't want to be there. Like,
yeah.
He's a stupid kid. He's dealt with him before. And so Dwayne just keeps darting away. Every single time Officer Bub would start, like, going into the aisle he's in, he'd either dart underneath one of the seats into the other aisle or just straight, like dart, like, away onto the other section. And he just really got tired of it. So they had to call the dean. Which was a woman, and she never wanted to get like any. I always looked at her as like that person, like, oh, I don't want to get my clothes dirty. I'm rich. I'm like high class. Yeah. Like I'm better than everyone else, and I always looked at her that way. And she comes in here. She barely does anything. The only thing she did is would block the aisle from him running out. So like he would still crawl underneath the seats.
It's literally just a cat and mouse game.
Yeah. So and like remember like. Mrs. Harris is just sitting there at the piano watching it all happen. We're all up on the risers watching it all happen. We're just watching this cat and mouse game. And then she's like, Mrs. Harris finally decides, like, okay, let's just keep singing. So, And it was so hard to keep singing because you just look behind her.
Oh my god.
You just look behind her. You see Dwayne running around and just like trying to get away from the officer and like Dean, and like and we're all just singing. We're going like it was like a Christmas thing too, so we're all going like deck the halls and like and he's just running around. So like finally, I think. Dwayne, instead of going underneath the seat, he tried to dive up over top of one, and his leg got caught in the seat because they like fold up.
Yeah.
So like his foot like went straight down through the seat, and he like when he went to jump, like since his leg got caught, his body kind of like ragdolled over top the back of the seat.
Oh.
And Dwayne, like Officer Bub, he picks him up, slings him over his shoulder, and just carries him out. We're still singing at this point, so we're just singing and we just finished, and like Officer Bub just carries him out. He's just walking down the aisle. It's so funny.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was probably the worst like I've ever seen like a high pursuit in like the school. It was funny.
Fuck. I had a story. Then I just lost it because of that one. It might have been another 7th grade one because that's where most of the funny stuff happened. Oh, that was it. Here's a good person to talk about. I'll codename him Cheese. You know who I'm talking about?
I think so.
I have 2 good stories about him. One was like a big one with like a teacher. The other was just something funny I thought of him. So like this kid, he was kind of big. He doesn't really have any friends, I don't think. He would always go in 8th period, 7th grade was just a study hall pretty much, but everyone would always talk in those classes. He would always be at Mr. Loth's back computer watching Minecraft videos. No joke. He would like watch them like all the time. And 2 good stories. One in 7th grade, one in 8th grade. In 7th grade, for some reason, like 8th period, we would go outside sometimes and like literally to do nothing. It was almost like recess still. But like we would but one day, like only one day ever, we had the choice of like not going and going to the computer lab. So I was like, yeah, I want to go to the computer lab. And Cheese was there with only like 3 other kids or something like that. So he's like kind of across the lab from me, but we're still in like the same row, but we're just back to back. And I'm like playing a game, and I hear him complaining to the teacher, Miss Dunn, and he's like, Miss Dunn, what is this? And it was like, I see like how the page was blocked. It was like iBoss or whatever. She's like, oh, that's like, she was like, oh, that's the computer boss. It'll block any websites you're not supposed to be on. And this was like at the very beginning of 8th period. I'm like playing a game, and the time kind of goes quick because, you know, time goes quick when you're having fun. And there's like 10 minutes left in the class, and Miss Dunn's like, all right, in 5 minutes we're gonna go back to the classroom. I like look at the clock, and then I look at Chase. He's still scrolling through like search pages trying to find something to play. I've told so many people this story that he clicks on one link, Computer Boss pops up. He just goes, "Sneaking Computer Boss! It won't even let me play HotWheels.com." And like nobody laughed, but like I was sitting there like silently trying not to like smile, like because like it was like so funny. Because he's HotWheels.com. And okay, this story, this is a good one. In 8th grade, life skills.
Oh, I hated that.
Yeah, it sucked. I didn't like the teacher too much either, but like, Chase was just a dick in 8th grade. He would just like interrupt the class so much. And the one day, he okay, let me start with something small first. The one day he came in, you know those like spiky like rubber balls that you like win at fairs and stuff? They're like,
oh yeah.
He like had like a hat or something that went over his head. He just wore that in one day going,
oh yeah, I remember that.
He walked in one day just going, faggot. And I remember, and like later that period we learned like we were talking about like stuff that offends people, like and Jack just raises his hand and goes, Chase called me a faggot earlier. And she like writes it up there because this is like a legit thing. Like you normally wouldn't say that, but it was like an exercise, and she like wrote faggot on the board, and he's like, no I didn't, and like she didn't even say anything. Like Okay, this is on a different day. He was just being a complete ass. He was like walking around the room and like saying shit and like just like, and then like she was like, Chase. Shit, I just
You said it like 3 times already.
Oh, okay. She's like, Chase, you need to stop interrupting the class. And he's like, no. She's like, I'm gonna send you down to the office. He's like, no. And then he keeps just like going on about stuff, and he's like sitting at like the back of the room at a computer or something. And she's like, Chase, if you say one more word, I'm sending you down to the office. And he goes, pickle. And everyone just loses it. She's like, go down to the office. He's like, no. He just it's like immediate though. Like he had that plan. He's just like, pickle.
I think there's like 2 stories, maybe 2 or 3. So like,
shit. Can you remember, keep those thoughts? I want to say one more small thing.
Right.
So another name we called him was Chance, and he hated it. And one time we were also talking about like bullying or whatever in Miss Myers. It was like the health class, but for some reason talking about bullying or something like that. And he just raises his hand. She's like, yes, Chase, and he's like, no. She was like, yes, Chance. we all start laughing because he's like, my friends, I mean, not my friends, he's like, people keep calling me Chance and it makes me unhappy or something like that. And I was like, she's like, Chance, I mean Chase. It's like, that's funny too.
Oh, wait, okay, there's actually 3 stories. So like, this was probably in 8th grade. So art teacher, it was the first year of the new art teacher, and I hated her. Oh God, did I hate her? Like I hated her so much. I literally emailed her like a death letter to her. It wasn't like a death letter, but it was like I literally told her every bit like why I hated her so much. Like I'm not even kidding.
What the fuck?
I'm not even kidding. Like it was long too. It wasn't like a short little thing. It was like long. Like I hate you. Like I'm not even kidding. I was called down to the office for it and like, you shouldn't do this and everything. And I'm like, I don't care.
You were really mad.
I hate her, but like and then I finally got pulled out of that room because I hated her so much. And like I like used to be, well I still am. I'm really good at drawing, and like she literally made that class so torturous for me. And I could not stand it. So there was 2 kids in the class that I was friends with, and I guess I would still say acquaintances with, but I'm not like really friends with them anymore. Zach and Jesse, which I wasn't really friends with him, but like he was a meme. And then like Zach, and I would like we'd always goof off in the class or whatever, and then Zach like. Jesse's black, okay, and he really didn't care about racist jokes towards him at all. But like, Zach just like said like, "Oh, now you're gonna be more black," and like took like charcoal pencil and like rubbed it on his face or something like that. And I'm like, and I started laughing at him, like, ha ha, like I was laughing, and the teacher, she like sends both of them to the office and then sends me to the office, and I'm like. I literally stood up. I'm like, why are you sending me to the office? I did nothing wrong. She goes, I just think you're part of it too. I'm like, I'm not.
Oh my God.
I looked at her. I'm like, I'm not part of it. You are literally the most ridiculous teacher I've ever met in my whole entire life. You have ruined this classroom for me. I am so good at drawing, and then there's you. You just ruined everything.
You said that?
Yeah, I was.
Shit.
I hated her, and like, I took my like the project that we were working on. That was like the dumbest project ever. It was like a foam thing where you like. You make like that plant foam and like I don't know.
Oh, that weird, yeah.
Stuff that's like satisfying now.
Yeah,
like, that stuff. I took that project, I smashed it against the ground. I'm like, you know what? I'm so tired of this. I just walked out. I went down to the office. I was like one of those kids who throw the temper tantrums, and I ran down to the office, and I'm like, well, what are you here for? I'm like, I'm here for the dumbest reason ever. It's because that teacher has no idea what she's talking about, and she needs to be fired. And they're like, well, what'd you do? I'm like, I did nothing. Zach rubbed charcoal pencil all over his face. That's why he's black. Well, that's why he has black marker on it. Like, I literally said that. I'm like, that's why he has black stuff on it. And she's like, well, what'd you do? I'm like, I did nothing. She just sends me down here for no reason because she hates me. And I hate her. And they're like, well, you can go back to class. I'm like, thank you. I storm up to that classroom. I'm like, you're ridiculous. I never want to hear that again. I hated that class. So that was like probably the worst moment with her.
Shit.
Like I have a lot of stories with her where I've gotten into a lot of stuff with her, but like that was probably the worst. what was I gonna say? The other one. Oh, that was like the one I really wanted to say. Health class. Yeah, speaking of health class, they were like, oh, that's what the other one was. Well, like health class, they're like, well, what are some like slang terms for like bodily fluids when having sex or whatever? I'm like, I turned to Mason, like Mason's sitting behind me, and I'm like, ho, like, you know, it's so funny, and like, and she said something like, what would you call it, or what's the technical term? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what she said. What's the technical term for female body fluids when coming out? I'm like, I have no clue, but I raised my hand, and she's like, Jeremy, I'm like, I don't know the technical term, but I know the slang term of it. And then, like, literally at that moment, you just hear boom, boom, boom right behind me. I turn around. Mason's on the floor. He passed out. What? He's on the floor, and I'm like, I'm watching him, and he's like, he looks like his face is like into the ground, and he's just going.
What the fuck happened?
Like, it literally looked like he was like struggling to breathe and stuff, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? I'm like, Mason, wake up! And she comes over and like starts like seeing like what's wrong, and then she calls like the nurse, and like Cody takes him down.
Oh my god!
Like he literally passed out because like his nutrition was down, or like sugar was down or something. Because he says to me, it was because the topic we were talking about was making him grossed out.
Oh my god!
And he passed out. Whoa. But I know for a fact he was on like some weird like workout diet thing at the time. And I know for a fact he was like malnourished because of his diet was so strict.
Holy shit.
And he passed out. So I'm like, I don't know the technical term, but I know the slang term. Boom, boom, boom. And he just falls down. He's like struggling to breathe. And like the third one, this is like really short. English class.
What year?
7th grade. She's like, the teacher, she's like, okay, so we're just going to go through some like 3-letter words that you can like kind of think out of like what you can make words out of, or something dumb like that. Like some dumb exercise. And she's like, okay, we're gonna start out with G-I-Z. And I'm like, everyone's like giz and like geese, and I'm like, I didn't know what jizz was at the time. I didn't know what the term jizz was, and I'm like jizz. And I turned, and Dan, he's like 2 rows behind me, and he's like, Jeremy, and I turn around, and he's laughing. I'm like, ha ha ha, and I'm like laughing at nothing because I literally have no idea what it is, and he's laughing, and then like everybody's like giggling. I'm like, is there something I'm missing here? Like I had no idea like that was like a slang term, because I was never like, at that time I was like, nobody really told anybody like what something was at the point, because they were like afraid of getting in trouble or something like that. So I'm like, jizz, and like everyone starts laughing. I'm like, alrighty, I guess and she's like, well, that could be one of them. And I'm like, all right, I guess that's all right. That was so funny.
We should probably end this soon, but like, oh my god, I love how I forget things so quickly. Jizz, cheese, jazz. Jizz hop. Fuck. It was another school story, of course.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. That's what I wanted to say. You know Nick, that was in our medals last year?
Yeah.
This kid, Nick, was really weird. Like, he had a weird sense of humor. Like, he would think that stuff was funny, but he would also, like, say, like, the weirdest things. And, like, I remember he was there in 7th grade, but he, like, left there in 7th grade and then, like, middle of the year, and then came back in the middle of the year, 10th grade. Like, stayed for 11th, and then just left again this year, I guess. But, like, I remember in 7th grade, like, I didn't know anything. And what's funny is that, like, I guess I kind of learned what shit was. This is, like, one of the things where I learned what stuff was. Like, sex. And he like, this was one of our outside things where we were just outside. And I would always just stand against the wall because I was like, I don't want to fucking do anything out here. He just comes up to me and goes, hey, do you like vaginas?
That's exactly how he would say it, too.
Oh, yeah, vaginas. Yeah. I was like, what? And, like, his, like, friends are behind him. His friends at the time were, like, Dalton, Noah. Like, they were just standing behind me, them, just, like, kind of, like, laughing at Nick because he's so stupid. Or, like, me, maybe because, like, I'm, like, the new kid. And he's, like... And, like, he didn't know that I was, like, from a Catholic school. He, like, mentioned it later when he said, like, he called someone gay. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, does that offend you? Or something like that. But, like, he didn't know at the time. And he was just like... And I was like, just kind of standing there smiling. Like, I didn't say anything. I didn't even say no or yes. And he's like, "Do you like vaginas?" And I kind of just like give like a really slight like no. I give, like, I know at the time like I didn't really know what it was. So I just give like a kind of no. I was like, no. And then he goes, "You don't like vaginas? What are you, gay? Vagina is the thing you stick your dick in when you're having sex." And then like his friends are just kind of like still like smiling still, and I'm smiling too. And like I just kind of like walk away, and he does too. Like, he was so weird.
Oh,
Holy
geez.
shit.
All right, that's probably a good time to end it because this is like
That is a good.
going on for like an hour long.
I'm like sweating.
Yeah, it's hot in here. It gets
It's
really
hot
hot
in this
here.
podcast room.
So that was episode 4, I believe, of Slapdash Podcast. If you'd like to subscribe, the subscribe button is down below. Like this video if you enjoyed. Discord server is also a link in the description. If you want to join that, you can become a guest on the podcast. I'm trying that out, and if it does work,
Yes,
then you know, we'll just try it out. And if it doesn't, then I'll just shut it down.
And if you have a subject either, we're down.
So
Jeremy has a call coming.
Yeah,
I have get this ending.
I recall. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you guys for watching, and goodbye.